Welcome back to Bombastic Nation and Ting and Ting and Ting. I'm Mr. Giant, and I'm back with some more vibes for all you. And I did a series on Napoleon, right? And then I wanted to see what happened to his son and stuff. So I did a reaction on that one. It's in there in the historical, no, the educational playlist there. I watched that there. So the other day I saw some stuff pop up with Napoleon on the news feed and stuff there, and I was like, hey, whatever happened to Napoleon's wife? What was the story there with that? So I found this here. It's called The Story of the Divorce of Napoleon and Josephine. And so I want to watch this and see what happened there because I like the what happened with the people around them a little bit. So that's why I'm doing this about Napoleon. Let's go ahead and YouTube and simmer and see what this is all about.
May 5th, 1821, on the island of St. Helena, left the life of the deposed Emperor of France, Napoleon Bonaparte. Napoleon's adjutant, Marquis de Montvillion, who followed him into exile, recalled that before his death, the emperor whispered faintly three words: Army, France, Josephine. By the time the last hour of the French emperor arrived, his wife was long gone. Her real name is Marie Josephine Rose Tasker de la Patrie. Josephine, this is how Napoleon began to call her. She was born in Les Trois-Îlets, Martinique, to a wealthy French Creole family that owned a sugarcane plantation, which is now a museum.
Okay.
According to the legend, which Josephine herself loved to tell, in her childhood an old black woman had told her that one day she would become more than a queen. At 16, Josephine was married to the son of the governor of Martinique, Viscount Alexander de Beauharnais. Love between the spouses was not. It was a marriage of convenience on both sides. In 1785, the couple separated. Josephine's marriage left 2 children, a good financial capital, which the woman quickly spent. Her former husband became a general. He managed to become an influential person in the Revolutionary National Assembly. His position allowed Josephine to feel confident during the times of the French Revolution. But soon, on a false denunciation, he was arrested, declared an enemy of the people, and sent to the guillotine.
Wow.
Josephine was in prison, waiting for her turn to behead her head. The next coup gave her life and freedom, but not a means of livelihood. Temperamental Josephine, after her divorce with her husband, changed her lovers like gloves again, finds a new patron, represented by Viscount de Barras, one of the leaders of the Thermidor coup. New lover took a mansion for Josephine and paid her expenses. Soon she became one of the most influential ladies of Paris, a trendsetter. In 1795, in the salon of his closest friend, Tricia Tallien, 32-year-old Josephine met a 26-year-old General Napoleon Bonaparte.
Oh, she was older than him.
At that time, the future emperor was still only one of the prominent and promising officers of the Revolutionary Army. General Bonaparte was overwhelmed by the charm of Josephine and passionately fell in love with her. Lost his head from love, Napoleon, immediately after their intimacy that followed 15 days later, offered Josephine a hand and a heart. Josephine could not resist such pressure and said, yes. A present for the future wife was a ring with sapphires, inside which was engraved, "This is fate." This is a very simple gold ring with a diamond and a pear-shaped sapphire. At the time Napoleon gave this ring to Josephine, he was not rich. When the general made his marriage proposal to his beloved, they both changed their age on paper. Josephine lowered herself 4 years, and her fiancé added to herself 1.5. Now they were almost the same age, at least formally. Their civil marriage took place on March 9, 1796. In addition to passionate feelings, sober calculation occupied an important place in this story. The most powerful lover will never have the same weight in society as a married woman. A marriage with Napoleon allowed Josephine to get rid of oblique views and get a better position in society. For Napoleon, this marriage was an opportunity through his wife to enter the circle of the highest French nobility. 2 days after the wedding, Napoleon was forced to leave Paris to take command of French troops in Italy. Upon arrival, he sent his wife a lot of letters with urgent requests to come to him. Josephine in Italy was not torn. But in June 1796 she gave in to the demands of her husband and came to him in Italy. A certain one came to her retinue, Charles Hippolyte, adjutant of General Leclerc, and at the same time a new lover, Josephine. For the time being, Napoleon in love did not notice anything. But after returning to Paris, he learned about the spouse's love affairs and about her participation in financial frauds, after which a scandal broke out between the spouses. Josephine was distinguished not only by her beauty, but also by
Wow, that's a lot of stuff going on there. That's a lot of stuff going on there. Those kind of scandals within scandals within scandals going on there. And these days we see a little scandal here and with politicians or rich people, and we go, oh my God, oh, what does the world come into? And this stuff's been going on for centuries, man. We ain't doing nothing new. And we still have the same reaction to it. Like, if that moral stuff's going to change stuff, that's not what's going to change stuff. It's how we treat each other that's going to change stuff. If we would just let people, as long as they're not killing anybody or causing any like major harm to the population or to the betterment of mankind, why are we like worried about what they're doing at home? Things that are clearly wrong, like grown men messing with young children, that's wrong. No, can't have it. But if it's consenting adults, why are we in their business? But it seems like even back then, we in the business because, here they are, they're telling the story about Josephine and the lover here and the lover there, and Napoleon did not even see, and it's like a storytelling thing, you know what I mean? I'm enjoying it though, I ain't gonna lie. Let's keep going. Let's see how this is gonna pan out here. For me, I've never seen this before. Some of you have probably heard of it or read about it, but let's see here.
Josephine was distinguished not only by her beauty, but also by her mind, and she managed to convince her husband that all this is only the slander of enemies. In the spring of 1798, wow, Napoleon departed to the troops. Josephine stayed in France and continued to do the same. When news of this reached Napoleon, he began to prepare for divorce. Back in Paris, in their house, Bonaparte did not find his wife. She went to meet him. They missed each other on the way. Towards Josephine's return, her belongings were dumped at the entrance, and Napoleon himself closed in the bedroom. All night the wife spent on her knees at the door to the bedroom, sobbing and begging for forgiveness. Whatever it was, but Napoleon forgave his windy spouse at the same time and paid her numerous debts. After the coup, Napoleon Bonaparte became the first consul, the actual head of state. Now Josephine has to play the role of the First Lady of France, who must also solve political tasks. Having connections and influence among aristocracies, she had to attract representatives of this part of society to Napoleon's side. Her weapons are lush festivals and receptions, in the Palace Malmaison. Josephine coped with the task. The aristocrats took a native from Corsica as the new leader of the country. On the 1st of December 1804, Napoleon Bonaparte finally married his wife, before the civil one, Josephine. The wedding was made by Pope Pius VII. The day after the wedding, Napoleon was anointed by the Pope to the emperors, and Josephine was crowned by the Empress. And so, before his
She looked into
coronation,
that, huh?
Napoleon, fortunately, managed to save some money. And he presented his beloved diadem in 1,040 diamonds. Contemporaries believed that Josephine's role as the Empress fully corresponded, despite the fact that her husband's family literally hated her. Relatives of Napoleon treated her like a lecherous woman, old woman, and in every possible way tried to persuade him to divorce. Napoleon's cousins refused to carry Josephine's train during the coronation, and this gesture infuriated him. The newly appeared emperor promised to send his relatives to exile and forced them to take part in the ceremony, having assigned trusted officers for reliability. It is curious that at their wedding and the coronation, there was no mother of Napoleon, but when the emperor ordered this picture to Jacques-Louis David, he asked to depict his mother in the very center. Napoleon adored his mother and said to her, "If you die, then I will no longer have anyone to respect." But Napoleon's love for Josephine was still weaker than his ambitions. Having created an empire, he dreamed of creating a new ruling dynasty. Generously handing out European crowns to relatives and marshals, he dreamed of handing over the French crown to his son. Josephine could not
See, you can't just marry a dude and then boom, boom, boom. You move up and you become president anymore. I don't know if I said that right. I guess what I'm trying to say is, can you imagine if you just got thrown into that role, whereas you marry somebody who suddenly decide they want to run for office, and then they run for office, and next thing you know, you're like the mayor's wife or the governor's wife or senator's wife, or vice versa, senator's husband, a mayor's husband. And so now, how do you deal with all of that? Because, it's just like everybody wants to know what's going on with you. They want to, find out about your life, and they want to know this and they want to know that, because they want to judge you on their own moral code. You know what I'm saying? Because morality is kind of out there. It depends on the culture that you live in, what might be moral and what might not be moral. There's no universal morality, but there is universal humanity. Maybe that's what we should be concentrated on more on, our natural instinct and how we want to treat people right and not want to hate them. Anyway, let's get back to this before I start babbling and not making any sense here. But, we always think about how hard it is for like the person who is leading and stuff like that. What about the family members, the kids? And they're living with that for the rest of their life, you know what I mean? It's not like it's going to be gone after that person is gone. They're still going to be son of, ex-husband of, you know what I mean? Ex-wife of.
crown to his son. Josephine could not realize her husband's dream, because by this time she suffered from sterility. Napoleon waited for several years, hoping for a miracle, but in 1809
He labored.
his wife for divorce. He left behind Josephine the title of Empress, the Elysian Palace, the Palace of Navarre and the Palace of Malmaison. She did not know the need for financial resources. She lived luxuriously, surrounded by her former court. After experiencing a nervous shock because of parting with Napoleon, she then accepted her fate with humility. The emperor married the Austrian Princess Marie-Louise, who in 1811 gave birth to his long-awaited son. If the marriage of Josephine and Napoleon once seemed strange to many, then the divorce turned out to be unusual. They kept warm feelings for each other, and these feelings were more than friendly. Their correspondence is the correspondence of lovers or spouses separated against their will. The new wife, Maria Louise, left her husband when military failures began to haunt him, and took her son with them. His son never ascended to the French throne. The young man died at the age of 21. April 6, 1814, in the palace of Fontainebleau near Paris, Napoleon abdicated the throne. On April 16, 1814, Napoleon wrote the last letter to Josephine: "Farewell, my dear Josephine. Humble as I am humbled. Never forget the one who did not forget you. I will never forget you." On April 20th, he went into exile on Elba Island. The winners who entered France treated Josephine with respect and reverence. She was visited by the Russian Emperor Alexander I, whom she prayed for one thing: to allow her to go into exile with Napoleon. Alexander considered this desire very worthy, but refused to Josephine. At the end of May 1814, the Empress came down because of a severe cold. The disease developed rapidly. She died in Malmaison on May 29, 1814, 2 months after Bonaparte's abdication. A native of faraway Martinique was awarded the imperial burial. About 20,000 people gathered to say goodbye to her on June 2, 1814. She is buried in the Church of Saint Pierre Saint Paul in Malmaison.
See, I told you that's interesting, but you get the kind of tabloid type of vibe coming out of history right there, you know what I mean? So, like today people see stuff that happens on with them and they go, "Oh my God, I can't believe." Come on now. This stuff's been happening forever, ain't nothing new. But you know what? Sometimes we allow it to happen, so it happens, The human being is out the window, and people just acting a fool. But anyway, man, thank you all for watching this with me. Hope you all had, had some fun learning about this, whatever happened to Napoleon's wife, and I guess it's Josephine we did here. Apparently he had more than one. I'm gonna have to look there up, see what happened to the rest of them. But anyway, man, thank you all for watching this with me. Link in the description. Take care of each other, alright? Cool runnings.